Welcome to another episode of the Best Damn Coach podcast. And I'm joined by an amazing client today, the lovely Tina. So, welcome. Tina Fitzloff is joining us. So, welcome first before I just dive in. I'm so grateful you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
These are my favorite episodes, as I always state, because I get to be with clients, which is why we do this work, right? Is to serve our people and connect with them. And as I was preparing 2024 episodes, and I knew I wanted to shape our January around belief and identity shifting, I was really intentional about inviting a guest on, one of our clients on, a member of the BDC, because I wanted for you all, the audience, to hear the power of the belief and the identity shifting work and how it is instrumental in business. And I think sometimes we discredit it. We go searching for strategy and we strategy hop and we hire out these people in our businesses in hopes that it's a solution to growth. When in actuality, like I always say, you can't put whipped cream on poop. And so you have to have a foundation of belief work, belief in self, belief in a lot of things, but mostly in the success of you and what you're able to bring to the table. And so Tina is going to be sharing her story today and just things that are working really well for her and her journey today when we look at a case study on why belief matters. So thanks for being willing to join.
Yes, thank you for having me. Like I said, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to kind of share my story and how I got to where I am today.
I love it. First, I want you to share who you serve and what type of coach you are. So the audience, especially because I know many of our listeners, you might be a great fit for as well as far as support, or they might know somebody. So I also want you to just shout from the rooftops around the work that you do. So tell us about who you coach.
So I coach women over 40. I help them reconnect with their purpose, rediscover who they are and who they want to become. That's the niche that I've kind of carved out for myself. And I've really enjoyed it. I've really had a great time with it.
Awesome. And when I hear you say that, and I know the inside, the backstory of all of this, right? Because the interesting thing is we were connected. I'll tell this story. I've actually told this story without you present before on the podcast, but I often talk about focus as coaches on hope, help one person every day. And Tina was such a great example. It's like one of my first times I'd ever spoke in public. I was invited to speak at a National Charity League event for a friend. I was actually there to speak to teenagers, and Tina was the only other adult in the room. And what I shared with her was instrumental enough, or created a spark, I guess, where she reached out and was like, I'm just in this place. I'd love some support. I don't really know where that's taking me, but this business thing, this transition thing, I'm kind of looking for this. So I'm sharing that story, you guys, because one person matters. One person, if it's one person, they might be your ideal fit. But I would love for you to share why you are in this niche and why you're so passionate about supporting women who are looking for this like life transition and reconnecting to their purpose.
Absolutely. The reason that I chose this niche is because that was the journey that I went through. I found that I was in my mid 40s and I was kind of unsatisfied and unfulfilled where I was at. And I didn't know how to take that next step and I didn't know where to go. And I had a lot of stories that I was telling myself that it was too late for me to make a change. It was too late for me to start over because that's kind of what I felt like I wanted to do. And I guess I was looking for someone to kind of give me permission to say, it really doesn't matter. Like you can start over whenever you want, and it's never too late to have that life that you love. And so that's kind of when I met you that day and I heard what you were talking about, it like kind of put that spark in me that I guess I could change what I'm doing. Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so really what happened, and you just correct the story if I'm wrong, essentially what happened is you were in this 9 to 5 gig that wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the freedom and the life that you were really desiring. And after our coaching together, coaching was impactful. You decided, I want to start coaching people through this very transition I was once struggling with and begin to explore like what a coaching business would look like and how you could also help people essentially take the steps you did to step into this new version of your life. Is that fair? Is that a good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, enter in, I think, a employment shift and some other things. I think the universe was working for you, but to be like, Tina, go all in. But I mean, there was also some life transition stuff that supported the transition for you as well.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I spent a ton of money getting certified to be a life coach, and um, it that really, I thought that I needed that, even though you told me a million times I didn't need it. I was like, no, no, no. I have to get training. I have to have something that says that this is you're okay to do this. Um, and so I spent a ton of money on that. Still really didn't have that belief in myself to take that next step forward. And it was yeah, it was an employment shift, right? I got laid off from a job, and it was actually really ironic because I remember I called a girlfriend that day and I told her the news, and her first words were, "I'm so sorry." And I said, "No, no, no. Like, we need to go celebrate." Like, I just feel like I'm freed. Like, I now I can
So good.
go do what I want to do.
Yeah, I love that so much. So let's just kind of paint that picture then. I love how you already called out the fact that you spent a significant amount of money on a well-known, reputable, a well-known life coach certification in the industry and other trainings, I think, around that. And I want you to just paint the picture post-training, kind of where you were, like what was running through your mind, what was happening, and where you were kind of feeling like you were at that point. Because I remember our conversation at that point, actually. We talked on the phone around then.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, as much as I was hoping that was going to be the answer for everything, um, I just didn't feel confident. I didn't have the confidence that even though now I got trained, that I could coach people, that I could go out and transform their lives like the transformation that I went through. And so I just think that that's it took me a while to kind of get to a place where I was comfortable. I wanted everything to be so perfect, and everything, I didn't want to mess anything up. I wanted to do it all right, and to get comfortable with the idea that it really doesn't have to be right. There isn't a right way. And my journey, as much experience as I have on my journey, doesn't mean that everybody else's journey is going to look identical to mine. I'm just going to guide them through that process, and theirs will be different than mine. And that's totally okay. And actually, even better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember having hopping on that call with you because we'd had a relationship already. You were in my fan program, and I just remember you sharing like, "I've invested all this money, and I'm still sitting here. I'm not taking action. I'm stuck in perfection," which I think so many of our listeners can relate that desire, especially when we're comparing our step one to somebody else's step eight, who's been doing it for 8 years, 10 years. They have built a brand, and it's like, why would anybody listen to me when there's people further along that are doing work and, that is similar? And I think that that's what runs through the head of so many people. And from an outsider looking in, my big aha for you was we have to get her into a place of deeper belief and identity shifting work. And so I remember it was around that time then that you were like, okay, I'm gonna join the BDC. It was you were a founding member, so woo woo to our founding members
Yep.
that still exists. Um, but I knew looking at you, like, she's got so much goodness. She has so much to offer, and we have to help her see it. And so, one of the main reasons I invited you today is that yes, you've done strategy work. You got clear on who your person was, because even coming out of life coach certification, you don't know your niche, right? That's the thing, is like we finish these certifications, and the worst thing we could do as a coach is go rinse and repeat exactly what they did, because then we're just like vanilla like everybody else. But I'd love for you to kind of tell us, like, so what happened then? Like, what were some stumbling blocks, and what did you notice in the process of joining the BDC that was instrumental to get you into this place you are now, which we're going to talk about after?
Um, I mean, I think for me, once I started attending the calls and I started seeing that there were other coaches that were just like me, um, and but they were not afraid to kind of take those next steps, and just hearing them talk about what they're learning from that was really what kind of gave me some of my permission to go, okay, I can try some of this. Like, it's in the BDC, like, it's such a supportive group, right? The women in there are so uplifting and just cheering you on and helping you, even if you know what you want to do next, but there's still something that's blocking you. They're helping you and guiding you to just, let it, just do it however it is, and take that messy action and then learn from that. And so that's, I really think, what has been such a valuable piece of the BDC is just having people at all different levels that you can kind of see. I mean, because there's some people that are further ahead than me, and there's some people that might be a little bit further behind than me. Um, and it's kind of nice seeing that I can provide some value to
For
those
sure.
people that are a little bit behind me also.
I love it. I remember a really pivotal conversation on a call that I'll just refresh your memory. I remember we were talking maybe about hosting a webinar, and I could like read your physiology, and you were kind of like, yeah, right. It was kind of like, it was like too much of a stretch. And I might have even said something like, "Oh, okay, tell me what you're thinking. Like I can see it in your eyes." And I think your response was something like, "Well, I don't know how to do that." And I said, "Okay, I want to ask you this question. The coach that's further along, that's making six figures, that has a full client roster, multi six figures, that coach that you are becoming, what would she do? How would she take action?" And for me, I don't know if you'd agree to this, but I feel like that question has been really instrumental on your journey, because when you have this desire to stay stuck or um, be like, I don't know. It's like, it's a reframe and go like, well, of course, I didn't know how to host a workshop either. I didn't know how to post on social media, but I knew that the person I wanted to become was going to figure it out. So am I right on that, or are you still using that? Tell me more.
For sure, totally. And as a matter of fact, that's what I was going to say is I tend to lean on that question often. Like, it is one that definitely helps me move from being stuck to in that, I don't know where to go next, to being able to take action. It's such a motivating question. Like, what did those people do? Well, I see those people. I can see what those people are doing. So obviously, that's what I need to start doing now, is taking those steps.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a quick reframe. The other piece that, I've seen is you just get out into the world. Like go out and be amongst the people. And one of the things I gave as homework, we were doing a sales month inside the BDC, and I just gave a 30-day challenge. And I said to all our community members, I want you to go out and have conversations, and I want you to record them. I want you to set a goal on how many conversations you can have and come back to me. Like, let's keep pace on this. And I just want you to see what happens when you focus on not even getting clients, but you focus on talking about what it is that you do. Because from my perspective, there are many coaches that just aren't even confident articulating what it is they do. So they shy away from the exact things that are going to get them clients, right? Stepping into networking situations, hosting webinars, introducing themselves, and talking about what they do at a coffee shop. You thrived. You kicked booty on this on this challenge. It was so good for you. But talk about what happened for you during that month.
Um, that month was amazing. Initially, when you kind of threw out the challenge, um, I set my goal for the month pretty low. Like I was like, I'll try to see if I can get maybe 12 conversations in the month. And but then that day, like when we got off the call, I thought, you know what? I'm going to reach out to some people and I'm going to start posting in some groups and things like that and just kind of see what happens. And it was so well received. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that me just offering to want to kind of talk with other people, learn about them, and share about me, that people were so open to that. And my calendar started filling up. Like it was crazy to me. And then I started going out and to even to more networking events and finding more places where I don't know anyone that I could start talking and having those conversations. And every time I had that conversation, it just kind of led me to building that belief in me and really that people want to hear what my story is. Like, I think that was something that I didn't really believe. I was like, no one's going to want to know what my story is. They're not going to care about my story. But really, what I found in all of those conversations is that was the part that everybody was most interested in. How did you get here? Tell me about your story. And I was blown away at that. So, yeah, that month was a really pivotal month for me, especially in just getting clarity around who I want to serve and the belief in that what I have to say matters to other people.
That's good, that story piece, because I think we do sometimes operate with the limiting belief that I don't even have a story to tell because that was something I know I worked through is because I felt like my story was average. Like I feel like I
Yes.
didn't have any massive trauma or events in my life. My husband reminds me, you do, you just discredit it. And how many people actually do relate to that who have lived, a quote unquote normal average life who are probably discrediting themselves and the value of their story. And I definitely relate to what you just said for sure.
Yeah, and something that was really like I just feel like, I got laid off. Like that's something I don't really want to talk about. It's not like I'm super proud of it. It's always a kind of an event where you're usually kind of down about it because you're like, what did I do wrong? Even though you probably didn't do anything wrong. It was an acquisition and they already have someone doing that job and it has nothing to do with you. And how many people wanted to know more about that. And I'm thinking, oh, you do? Like it was just, it totally caught me off guard. And I went, okay, I guess I do have something to say that matters.
Yeah, for sure. So I would love to just touch on really I want to touch on two more things. Really, the impact of the BDC and how it continues to cultivate your belief. Because inevitably, we talked about some of the highs, but along there, you've also been, just like all of us, in places where you're stuck in inaction or belief, like lack of belief tempts you, right? So I would love for you to share, how does the community, the BDC community, support you when you're in those places? And then I want to talk about your strategies after that.
Um, I think it's really those open coaching calls that really help because even if like usually when I'm in like a low, I'm more of the hiding, right? So I'm on the call, but I don't really want to say a whole lot. I don't
Yes.
want to,
No, I'm good,
really.
thanks.
Yes, exactly. And then someone else says something, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I can totally relate to what they're saying. And it's like, you know what? Okay, I've got this. Like, just hearing them be vulnerable on the call and getting supported is enough that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can say something. I can, let me ask for some help here.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think the value I do hear sometimes, and I want to hit this objection that I have is, oh, like group coaching programs. I do better on one to one, or I'm not good at being vulnerable in a community. Two things I have to say that are perceptions or projections, which means if you have that belief, your clients will too. And if you're trying to launch a group program, friends, guess what? That's not good for you, right? We want to model. And so I think that you nailed the piece though, is there is so much value in hearing somebody else ask a question, because A, you know, like, I'm not the only one, and B, you learn from each other and you're able to support each other. And I think those open coaching calls are that opportunity. I mean, we were together today where we had some really vulnerable shares of people just like, hey, I am hiding and I don't want to hide, but I don't know how not to hide. And I think that's the unfortunate part of I would say the online course creation space and the online coaching space is a lot of programs will call themselves coaching programs but aren't really coaching, right? It's just module consumption. And it's so easy to buy a program or buy a course and just hide and never take the action. And my hope and my mission is to constantly be that place where you can't hide, right? And not that, and not in a negative way, but like, you're meant to live in your purpose, and you're not going to do that by sitting in your stuff and not believing in yourself. And so I love that you bring those calls up because I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So you've acquired tools through your own, certification journey and the learnings that you continue to do. We teach tools inside the BDC, but for somebody listening who very much relates to your story and who's looking for tangible ways to just deepen their belief or help like cultivate deeper sense of purpose and belief in their coaching, what is maybe one or two tangible things that you do consistently to keep moving the needle there?
I mean, I think for me, one of the things, and it's just because it's something that is always kind of a block for me, is that perfectionism always kind of creeps in for me, and it's something that I just have to remind myself that done is better than perfect, and
Mm-hmm.
to just keep moving forward, not to um, you know, create this, it doesn't have to be perfect even when I roll it out, and what I think the belief for me is, and I've been able to test this a little bit now,
Mm.
is rolling something out, and it's almost better that it's not perfect, right? Because now I'm getting that feedback and I know where I want to make those tweaks, and I don't know that if I don't do it, and so I've just been believing more in the feedback afterwards, and that it's not all negative, and even if it is, like, that's good for me to know.
Yeah. Negative feedback is still great feedback. It's
Yes.
constructive, right?
Yes.
And to that point with the perfection is like our version of perfect doesn't mean it's perfect for our clients. And that's what I've found so many times is I'll roll things out and be like, oh, I worked so hard, it's perfect. And then it's like a flop. And then I slap something together and it's like such a hit. And it's like, okay, I get you. Like, there's a reminder.
Yeah. The universe is telling me
Hmm.
something.
Yeah, for sure. How about tangibly? So that's a great reframe. Are there any tangible things that you do? I mean, that is a tangible piece, but are there any other things that you're doing on the daily or uh, pieces like, or even mantras or reframes for you outside of that that help you keep going forward and moving towards that goal?
um I don't know if there's like a daily action or mantra or anything, but really for me it's just believing that this is what I was meant to do.
There's
I
the
didn't have
reframe. Yeah.
that. I didn't have that, and for a long time, I feel like I kind of resisted that, but I feel like the world has been giving me so many signs that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. That even from an outsider looking at you, I don't want to dismiss that because that belief, I was born for this or whatever, that's mine. But I think you said something similar. And shifting your brain to collect evidence in support of this, that's progress. From me watching you, because in the beginning there was even this default, right? That negative bias towards like, this is not working out. But I've seen you grow in that shift of going like, it's not, oh, two people signed up for my workshop. It's like two people signed up, right? Like that is very different. And so I want to just credit you with that as well, because that's what's necessary for resiliency and entrepreneurship is that latter tone. Like two people signed up, right? Not like I only got one view, but like one person looked at it, right? Like there's a big
Yeah.
difference. And that creates resiliency. And I've watched you cultivate that deeply over the last year.
Yes, for sure. And I've been like, I feel like before I brushed off any of that, like it wasn't real, like it didn't matter, like it didn't count. Um, but for sure that's been a change that like all of it counts, all of it matters. And I just keep going, oh, that's another sign.
Yeah, for sure. And you're also one of our renewing members. You've been with us, and I'm so grateful for that. And I love watching your growth. What keeps you in the community? I'm curious.
Um, it's funny because a couple of people have reached out just from other places asking me about the BDC. And I mean, I think that we always get you is one of the things that keeps me going, and keeps me moving forward with it. There, even if there's a guest coach, you're always on the call. I don't ever feel like we're getting pawned off to someone, so to speak. Um, and it's just nice being in a community with other female entrepreneurs, supporting each other and going through all of those same challenges. Um, because it kind of gets lonely when you're in your office just trying to plug away, and just having people to be a sounding board for even just ideas.
Mhm.
um, I remember I was asking questions that were probably really simple questions to people. How do I collect payment? I got my first client. Like, what do I do next? How do I do this? And I could just post it on the board, and people were giving me ideas and ways to solve that problem for me. And so it's just that feeling of support is like, I don't know, it's none other. You can't really, I haven't found anywhere else that you can find that in an online community.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate that. I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful to continue to watch you grow and step into your big 2024 vision. And I know one of the things you're passionate about is serving more women who relate to your story and who are in this place. They're lacking that vision, they're lacking fulfillment and purpose, and they just need somebody to come alongside them and guide them. So for anybody listening or who has a friend, or you're listening to this episode and you're like, I need to share it with my friend, can you share the best place for share all your things that you want to share, but where's the best place for them to connect with you and find you? And if they're interested in talking more about coaching, where would that be?
So the best place to find us on Instagram, I am at Tina Fitzloff Coaching on Instagram. And I am going to be rolling out a kind of new and revised program in 2024. And it is to your purpose. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm excited for you. Pathway to your purpose. I love the alliteration and all the work. I've seen behind the scenes, so I know how much heart and energy you're putting into really creating something that's special and unique for ladies in that situation. So we're going to link to her Instagram page below. And I also just want you to spell your last name for us because it's a unique spelling. Will you spell that out for
Yep.
us?
So it's Tina, and last name is Fitzloff. It's F as in Frank, Itzlo, F as in Frank, F as in Frank.
Amazing. Give Tina a hand, everybody listening. I know you can't hear it, Tina, but everybody's cheering for you. So thankful that you joined us today to share your story. And of course, any information you would love will be in the show notes for the episode. And for those of you listening audibly on your favorite podcast, don't forget you can join us on YouTube and you can see us both chit chatting. So you can put a face with a name and see Tina in person. And you can also connect with her information there. So thank you again, and so grateful to have you.
Thank you.